Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CCL Week 9. We're here. It's stage 2 now. Everything is getting so serious, and we are ready for all the action tonight. I'm Rome DMV, joined alongside Mick. And Mick, are you ready, man?
I most definitely am, man. Obviously, another week of Call of Duty here. Going to be here for 3 matches, so I'm hoping I'm going to be ready, at least with all the time that's going to be committed here tonight. But even then, to go ahead and get a warm-up, go ahead and get ready, at least here on this matchup alone. These first 2 matches are definitely going to be bangers here, but this first one, this is the one we got to talk about, especially with the 2 teams that we got lined up.
Oh, big time. You know, looking at this one, it's going to be Niner Esports going up against KSU. Let's go ahead and take a look at these squads, how they match up head-to-head against each other coming into this one. I mean, we got to start things off talking about this Niner Esports squad. I mean, their season record currently 11-2. They've been looking pretty good in Split 2 as well. And I mean, right now, Kennesaw State, yes, they are in the Tier 1, but they have been struggling a little bit here in the second stage.
Yeah, they most definitely have, and I mean, sure, you can't really sleep on them. They have themselves some pretty wild card weeks, so I mean, I'm always expecting them to kind of bring out something crazy. And honestly, if they were going to do that, this would be the week to do it when you look at the likes of Niners. I mean, look at the record. They've been on everybody's radar. They haven't been, overwhelming in terms of a force or anything. Every single game they've had has been pretty good, but and also I'd say fairly close to some extent as well. But still, you can't go ahead and disregard the stats. 11-2, 15-1, 9-3, and 3-2 in control. The control's a little bit iffy, but when you don't really have to sit there and force it too much, you're not really complaining.
Oh, yeah, precisely. And, that's what I'm going to be looking at. Really, it's going to be the hard point win-losses that are really standing out to me. 15-1 coming in for Niner Esports. So, I mean, hey, this map 1 is going to be absolutely huge. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Niner Esports roster, the home team, if you will, tonight. They are going to be represented by Dark, Fitty, Smiley, and Anku. And, I mean, this roster from top to bottom, it's got a whole lot of talent on it, and hey, listen, honestly, there's a reason that they are where they are right now in this Tier 1.
They most definitely are. I mean, when you look at this roster right here, I mean, every single one of these players over the course of the season has had themselves a spotlight night. I mean, you have everybody doing their job, whether it comes down to just holding down objectives. I mean, that hard point win-loss ratio is there for a reason. Everybody knows what their responsibility is, and everybody knows how to step up into each other's role whenever need be. So outstanding moves from everyone. It all comes down once again to where I'm going to have my eyes looking at that control, being that's been their kind of lackluster effort here over the course of the season. But we're talking about lackluster. Let's go ahead and talk about KSU. They're the ones who really need to do themselves something. They got to get themselves a pretty big favor done tonight, because overall, I mean, I sat there, I've casted over these players. They're not terrible, but I feel like the record just doesn't do them justice, and they have to do themselves justice in that respect to go and step things up here today. So the roster will be Gizmo, Trauma, Snake, and S. So, I mean, all 4 of these players also, once again, all really good. I feel like just a little more of a lack of understanding of their roles compared to the Niners, but you never know what could happen on a week-to-week basis when they can finally step up and start getting that fire in their eyes again.
Oh, yeah, precisely. I mean, that's what I'm going to be looking for this Kennesaw State squad. I mean, you want to see them come out, show that they've learned some things. They're going up against other Tier 1 teams. They made it into this Tier 4 a reason. So let's see, what you guys have been able to accumulate knowledge-wise over the last couple of weeks. It's been better competition, so let's see what you got. Let's go ahead and take a look at the maps for this series, because, I mean, listen, honestly, from top to bottom, this is going to be fun, because we're starting off in the cage. Anytime you start in the cage, it's going to be a good series.
It most definitely will be. I mean, Bocage is one of those maps where you get yourself an introduction, whether it comes down to the entire series or just on that map alone because of how hectic it is. Especially on hardpoint, when you constantly have every single point with that, I'd say, a hop and a skip between each other and constant just chaos on each one of them once you get past that P1. In P1 included, that is if you decide to go for it. Because a lot of teams now we've seen opt to say, you know what? I don't want to jump in that side anymore. That's a little bit too much for me. I can, run back and forth, maybe get a second here and there, but you never want to sit there and make yourself a home in the middle of the map where you have unlimited crossfires available for the other squad.
Oh, yeah, precisely. And, looking at this overall, looking at the maps, I mean, we're going to be having no Gavutsu and, no Desert Siege either. So pretty standard maps going to be coming out, pretty much the 3 quote-unquote favorites, if you will, that we are going to be seeing. That double dose of Tuscan, though, in the middle with that control leading into that hard point. I mean, 2 back-to-back respawns on Tuscan. I mean, who knows? That might be a little bit of a momentum swing potential in the series for sure. We just got to wait and find out. But, I mean, I do like the fact that map 2 is going to be Berlin. I think that Berlin is a nice even S&D map to really see exactly what these squads are made of. So, I'm always a fan of map 2 Berlins. But, I mean, let's be honest. Map 1 Bokage, I'm ready to get into the madness.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. And even then, I mean, as you mentioned, Berlin, a nice change of pace there, at least, so especially when you're going to S&D. I mean, you're already slowing down the game. Berlin is such a massive map that you go ahead and you have so much time before right off the get-go when you see that first blood come through. It all comes down to which side we really see the opposition trying to go for on that attacking side, whether they're going to go ahead and rush that A side, whether or not they're going to go ahead, play a little bit more slow and set up themselves for a B plan. I mean, just the way that Berlin plays is super satisfying to watch, and I can't wait for that one. But even then, the control of the Tuscan, and then once again, Tuscan again, if we go around to that fourth map and fifth being Bocage, almost somewhat of a mirror, I'd say, but just with a little differential map 2 and 3 there. But overall, nonetheless, still kind of a pretty typical map selection overall. So, I mean, you can't complain, but I mean, looking at what these teams have to offer, you have to sit there and kind of more put some reinforcement on what they have to provide.
Yeah, pretty much. And, looking at these two rosters, coming into this, yes, you might sit here and say that Niner Esports are the slight favorite based off their record, based off, what they've done so far. But, I mean, at the end of the day, as you stated, anything can happen right here. Kennesaw State, they might be able to come out and pull up an upset. So I'm going to ask you, I went 0-2 in my predictions yesterday. I'm going to ask you, what's your predictions for this series, man?
For this series, I got to go with Niners. I think, obviously, that KSU, I want to say KSU will get themselves a map. I feel like we'll go on to map 4, but I feel like it'll be a 3-1 at the end of the day, not a 3-0. And I know that some people are expecting maybe a 3-0, but quite honestly, looking at that control, that has me a little bit of, I'd say, just a tiny spark of hope there. Kind of pull it out to see whether or not that KSU could get themselves some momentum to work off of that. I think they'll have to go ahead and find themselves in that reverse sweep scenario if anything really does come to light, knowing that that control is where it could all start and know where the breakdown could happen, because Bocage Hardpoint, this place is an absolute wreck. I mean, that's all it comes down to. It's a beautiful wreck at that. Yeah, and when you sit there and see how players go ahead and work it out in the Niners and how they know how to play that hard point, that's the scariest thing. Knowing that this map, I mean, it just really does nothing but punish mistakes. And when you're a team that doesn't make too many of them, it's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, pretty much. And, coming into this first point, it's really just going to be all about these rosters understanding, how they want to play against each other, just filling each other out. And right now, S is going to be able to pick up one, get his second kill of the game, start off 2-0, feeling pretty good. As right now, let's be honest, this first hill, it's just going to be all about getting as many scrap points as you can, but you do want to be able to get those early rotations to next, because that P2 can definitely be a power position. And saying that it can be a power hill, and saying that on a map like Bocage, I mean, that is a lot to say, because, I mean, it's really the one hill, in my opinion, that I've seen that people can really turn into a money hill if they're able to lock things down.
Yeah, and even then, you could already see them, and you just go ahead and set them around the map. You look for those crossfires. You make sure it's a 3v4, and you still look for ways to manage those wins. I mean, at least get those kills and keep them off the hill, because you can already see the hill's already gone just within that time of talking, because there's just not enough time to set up for you. You have to set up for spawns, which we did see there for a second out of Gizmo, but Anko wants to go ahead and push up, find the kills there, and then go ahead and find those spawns to the side of Niners now, who are going to be accumulating that time as well. We just got to see KSU find the break to really go ahead and retaliate on it.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, right now, it was a nice hold coming out of Niner, but it is going to be Snake in the back behind enemy lines, is able to drop one, but that's not going to be enough to clear him out of sight. Niner Esports are going to be locking down this P2 pretty well, and, I mean, getting a really decent chunk of time right here already on this one. Smiley trying to lock this one down. If he could pick up this kill, that would be huge, but no, he is going to be dropping to Gizmo, who is currently sitting at 6-3. So as these rotations are going to be coming over toward this bottom Grandma's, right now, it's looking like KSU are going to be having the advantage, but no, that is going to be Niner Esports. They flipped the spawns, and they're locking it down. And, I mean, going into next, let's see how the break's going to be coming in.
Yeah, they definitely have themselves a pretty good setup. I'd say both squads make it look even thus far, at least in that P2, where we didn't really see too much dominance, which I'm kind of happy to say. I mean, looking at the squads, so thus far, Niners are the one who are set up for that P3, and that's an even bigger problem. Knowing how tight and contested this side is, you have to have yourself a flank, and that's exactly what Gizmo's going to provide. Fighting a 2K, still looking for that third on the Smiley, but can't exactly manage the shots there with that pistol going ahead and being whipped down that range that's been provided. But, I mean, looking at the exchange, looking at Onko jumping down as well, you've sit there and seen KSU's been collecting time, meanwhile, where you see those fights going on in the back, but they can only hold down for so long. You see the kind of collapse coming through, you see Niners just coming at all angles, and with that being said, you see some exchanges come through as well. So still 46-47, now maybe tied up. An outstanding start, at least for these first 3 points.
Yeah, and I mean, finally, Kennesaw was able to get on in there. They were able to contest the time, and they were able to clear them out as well. And that's just a great break coming out of Kennesaw in timely fashion, honestly, because, I mean, now we're looking at a tie game through these 3 hills, and now heading over to Barn. you can see those rotations are going to be coming out. Kennesaw going to be looking good as long as they can take out this one player in the back that is going to be Fitty. He is going to be dropping, so they should be having spawns. They should be good to go, but we'll see how long that's going to be lasting, because guess what? That kill feed's going pretty green right now.
Yeah, most definitely is. It's looking like St. Patrick's Day a little bit early right now because, I mean, you can see him just definitely putting in the work thus far and going ahead and tying up the game, at least in terms of those points on the board. But, I mean, everything and all things considered, you got to sit there and look at the setups as well. You got to see the return from KSU, but they just can't really bring anything to light thus far. They can't find themselves the kills and necessitate that, go and create somewhat of a catalyst for this break, because you got Fitty on the outside, at least managing a lot of these kills until he finally gets picked off. So you see right there on the side, not too much presence to come down from the Niners to really retaliate and hold things down too much, but with Onko coming on there on the return, it would have found a double kill, so I would go ahead and clear up the side a little bit more so.
Yeah, I mean, a great hold for sure coming out of Onko and company, and I mean, right now, Niner Esports are looking very, very good. You can see these rotations are going to be coming in. Smiley is already going to be at the backside just trying to lock these spawns down and make sure that his squad are going to be able to get all these rotations. But guess what? That's going to be a huge kill in the back onto Snake. And that might have been the one they needed, but that's going to be a couple players in the back flooding that out for Kennesaw State. And, I mean, now it's going to be Anku all on the point, but he's going to be dropped as well to the hands of Trauma, who does eventually get traded out. So you can see right now, it's a battle for spawns, but nobody's actually on the hill itself.
Yeah, and even then looking at the stage of the game and this board overall, I mean, I like to sit there and, I'd say, compare sometimes an MMA fight to the likes of Hardpoint. When you see these teams going back and forth, it's almost like just a battle of stamina. Even exchanges, even punches across the board, just every single time, right hook, left hook, left hook. You got to sit there and finally see who gets that shot on the head and who can go ahead and be disoriented off of it. And finally, you're seeing Niners kind of go in with the game a little bit, but you can see KSU recovering, and that's really what it's looking for, a battle of recovery. Can you keep yourself relevant in this fight? Can you sit there and make sure every single time you exchange these points and be ready for the next one as well? Because you can't be on the rear end looking for retakes, looking for scrap time every single one, and getting the rear 50% off that site. So, I mean, KSU definitely manages that at least this time around, but when you sit there and see the setup for P5 now, that's going to be a big problem. Now seeing the resets, or excuse me, now towards P1 again, that's where things are going to get a lot more hectic, and we go right back to scraps where we saw an entire rotation go out, and I mean, no real points having a huge advantage yet.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, if you look at the kill feed in Niner Esports, I mean, things are pretty much all even across the board. I mean, even slaying going to be coming out of both squads, as it is literally dead even in kills right now between these two teams through these first set of rotations. And I mean, how many times do I gotta say it, ladies and gentlemen? Through the first set of rotations, so many times we'll see a game around 110 to 110. And then in the second set of rotations, one team ends up just carrying away with the second rotations overall. Like they get out to like a 210 to 130 lead by the end of the second rotation. So I want to see if one of these squads is going to be able to, you know, take that stride and really, you know, extend their lead over the other, or, you know, if we're going to be getting a wire-to-wire matchup.
Yeah, and even looking at the setup thus far, I mean, you sit there can already see the spawns are set up for the side of Niners. They already had themselves that back. The problem is, he had Trauma there. He's going to find himself a double and make sure that it doesn't matter where you're spawning. If you can't get on the site, it's not going to matter. Even then, after picking up so much time on that P1, KSU was surprisingly just kind of sitting on site right through the middle of the map with no regards to their life. So that managed to get them a lot of time and give them the advantage going into this P2. With only 35 seconds remaining, if the Niners do decide to hop on eventually, I mean, how much are you really going to get out of that when S is getting on a triple kill and making sure you really can't touch it?
Yeah, great stuff coming out. I mean, you got Trauma currently on a 4 spree of his own. They're still going to be having the spawns, 20 seconds remaining. I don't think the Niner are going to be able to get a nice solid break on this one because, I mean, it's just KSU locking it down. Dark in the barn, trying to make it happen. Trauma, not able to finish his food as he is going to be dropping, unfortunately, as S is fully streaked out, ladies and gentlemen. You can see it in the back pocket. He is good to go. So, I mean, Kennesaw State looking pretty good as they are up by 50 currently over Niner Esports in a hard point, where Niner Esports are currently 15-1. Let's not forget.
Yeah, and this is the point where you sit there and said one team really runs away with the game. Well, looking at it thus far, KSU may be going ahead and creating that kind of swing towards their advantage thus far. But you can already see the exchanges coming through with P3. This is one of these big sites right now to say, all right, if somebody's going to get an advantage, they're going to show it off right here. They're going to make sure that this is a point where you are constantly fighting. There's no kind of free spawns. There's no way to set up for this to where you sit there and say, okay, we can guarantee time. Yeah. It is a constant war of attrition. So, I mean, with KSU already accumulating so much time, now sitting on 23 seconds, and they picked up every second thus far, it's a really good, I'd say, argument for them to go ahead and say that, look, they are fighting, they are making work with what they got, and even the setups on the side, Trauma with the wraparound, able to just go ahead and manage so much gives so much room for his teammates to work with. It's just so out good.
Yeah, Trauma going big inside the point, able to pick up 4 in a row. But, I mean, right now, KSU, they are looking extremely solid all around, through and through. They find themselves with a 70-point advantage currently over Niner Esports. So heading into this barn rotation, it looks like it is going to be the side of Niner Esports that are going to be locking things down. But guess what? It's been KSU every single time that have been able to come in and break through. It's Trauma going to be able to find one. Now they've got control of the barn. They just need to slay out on the backside because guess what? Niner Esports is still going to be trying to flood on in. It's going to be Trauma on the outside. He's going to be going down 250. Now Este on the inside, going to need to go big. Is able to pick up one, but he is finally going to be dropping to the likes of Vanku, who's going to be able to take him out. Yet again, slide on in. Guess what? That's not going to be working out. Gizmo going to be going big. Trauma going bigger. And KSU, they might have just re-broke it again, and yes, they did. They're going to be getting this scrap time. They're going to be within about 20 seconds of winning it after this is all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, they've sat there and bought so much time already on this side of the load, even the last one on P3. I mean, all these indoor sites, they are just excelling, and it's just really nice to see the way they're going ahead, rotating about the map. You got Trauma not getting over Antsy, saying, let me make some plays for the outside. You have these streaks, you finally sit there and say, well, this is an outside point. Every single one of them's been inside thus far, unless it's P1. Let's invest these streaks now. Problem is, Dark has those in his hands as well, so he needs to at least go ahead and manage to put those out. You just never know when they're going to come through, and Gizmo with that strike as well. I mean, so much at their disposal working with on both sides, and it all comes down to who can really utilize it the best, who can sit there and get the most kills, create the most space, then go ahead and get on site. Well, KSU's already on site. They've been on site a heck of a lot more to accumulate 100 more points over the likes of Niner Esports. So we got to see the Niners step things up here because, I mean, they have to almost play perfect Call of Duty. They're not at that stage yet. They still have some leeway, but if they keep on letting KSU get on that site, the problems are only going to get worse.
I just see it too many times. One squad on the second rotation absolutely dominates. KSU are doing just that right here, right now. 230 to 138. They are looking extremely solid. This scrap time is going to be going over to Niner, but guess what? You know, at KSU, you can see they're already setting up for P2. What, like, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. They're not worried about setups for next because guess what? There are really no setups for next. You're worried about next right now. And that's exactly what this squad in KSU is trying to do. They want to keep control of this left side of the map. They do not want the left side of the map to start getting green because they already know they don't need to win on this point right here. They just need to contest, get a couple seconds here and there, make sure they still have these spawns locked down for P2, and they can get a victory on this point for sure.
Yeah, if it was any other map, they'd be setting up for P1. They'd be looking for those points. They'd be looking to go ahead and close things out and not really risk it. But when you sit there and find yourself on Bocage, you can't really sit there and set up for P1. You just set up towards the back, make sure to get a 4-stack onto that spawn towards P2, and make sure that you can hold it as best as possible. So when you know the reset comes through, when you know that next spawn comes out, that next site comes into fruition, you were prepared for it. And even though they picked up a couple seconds here and there, finally breaking that 240 threshold, now just going ahead, getting more and more and more. Let's put the pressure on Niners because they are 4 seconds off from winning this.
Yeah, precisely. And I mean, you can see it. Guess what? Niner Esports, they've flipped the spawns heading into next. So it's going to be all about the hold coming out. It's going to be all about the break coming in for Kennesaw State. They've only need one time. That's literally all they need to do, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to need to be a perfect hold coming in from Niner Esports. It's going to need to be a perfect transition as well to Grandma's. I mean, that's 45 seconds in the future, but I mean, we need to start talking about it because they're going to need to win those rotations if we get there. Dark fully streaked out. Este as well going to be fully streaked out. Dark picking up 2. Trauma is going to be taking him out. Is this going to be the big 1v1 on site? Yes, it's Trauma going to be locking it down, going to be securing the victory as Kennesaw State handed Niner Esports their second hardpoint loss of the season. Woof! Our predictions out the window.
And I'm completely okay with it. Honestly, it's like a win-win scenario. You sit there and say you make a ridiculous prediction to go ahead and say, all right, let's go ahead and see what's on the board. And even then, when you go ahead and look and you're wrong, it's still a win because you're like, okay, now this map is interesting. Now this entire series is interesting, and that's exactly what it's become. Already, KSU, we sat there and said we needed a statement out of them. Well, this is one heck of a statement. Going ahead and being at a team that has only had one loss in the entire season on hardpoint, 250 to 178. I'm not going to say it's the best look that we've ever seen, put them in the 100-point club or anything, but still, regardless, you can't sit there and ignore the fact that beating a squad like this over 70 points by a small margin is just outstanding thus far to go ahead and get yourself into this series. Trauma 41 and 28. This guy was slaying out constantly, and you just can't ignore that. I mean, he's such a good player, such a good slayer from at least the kind of points and tidbits what we saw. Overall, I mean, you've got to sit there and keep your eyes on that player alone, at least for the rest of the series, because once you get heated up on Bocage, it's hard to slow down.
Yeah, big time. And the funny thing that I'm looking at is that his highest streak was only 4. So going 41 and 28, and you only went on a 4 spree as your longest. That's pretty interesting if you ask me. But, I mean, regardless, as you stated, Kennesaw State coming out with a decisive victory over this squad in Niner Esports. I mean, I don't know. If I'm Niner Esports heading into this S&D, I'm going to be feeling a little bit shook. I mean, who knows? Berlin, there's really no reason that Kennesaw State can't come out victorious. I mean, they just took Niner Esports' best mode off of them.
Yep.
So now, I mean, anything can happen, honestly. Let's be real. Kennesaw State, they're right in this series. They can take this one. If they win this map number 2, oof, Niner Esports, you're on upset alert.
Yeah, most definitely are. I mean, even then, look at the likes of what this next map had to provide. You got to sit there and talk about Berlin and S&D, and knowing that the map is going to slow down. So I feel like a good kind of stat, I would say, in that last one to look at is going to be those streaks. Looking at how long these players could play off their own life and manage those skills while stringing them all together. Going ahead, getting that momentum, working themselves to make themselves that much bigger of a threat as time goes on, just with the kills and the kill and the kill. And if you don't die off, you know that you're probably winning those rounds. We do see occasions here and there where players like to save their lives, make sure not to give streaks over and not really risk theirs to go ahead and diminish. But, I mean, most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, we sit there and see them playing it out. And if you know that you are going ahead, playing your life efficiently, moving around the map, making sure that saying, look, I can't give them too much. I don't want to sit there and get overzealous and give them something that's not really warranted. Then, I mean, it's cases like that you really see yourself standing out. So as we go into Berlin, as we look at the game slowing down, there's definitely an opportunity for both sides to really sit there and set the tone for that, to really say, okay, let's go ahead and play our lives. Let's go ahead and do it slow. This is the map we need to do that on.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You know, this is where Niner Esports are going to be looking at this map essentially like a must-win situation. You know, they do not want to go down in that 0-2 hole, especially against this squad in Kennesaw State who just took a hard point off of you. So guess what? If they took one off of you, they might be able to take another one off of you later in the day if this gets to that map number 4. So, I mean, hey, listen, at the end of the day, Niner Esports, they've got to be watching their backs right here, right now, because, I mean, hey, listen, this S&D, it could go either way. Let's be honest. Like Kennesaw State, they are looking pretty good right now. If this momentum that they've been able to acquire can carry over to this map number 2, Niner Esports might find themselves in some trouble, and our predictions might be in a lot of trouble, if you will.
Yeah, our predictions are kind of already scrapped a little bit, but, I mean, regardless, looking at these squads, I mean, one thing that's also scrapped is just looking at the possibilities. I mean, everything's out the window right now, and quite honestly, that's the most exciting thing about it. Like I said earlier, it's a win-win scenario. We don't care whether our predictions come out right. If they come out right, awesome. That's a little bit of personal valor and glory right there. But, I mean, if you look at the sake of the series, when we sit there and say we're wrong, it's just one of those cases where, like, sweet. We know that, I mean, this is what we expected. We're probably speaking for the people in most parts, and we're sitting there looking at from the statistical point of view to really go ahead and see what's going to come out and pan out for this game. When that's not really a factor anymore, when you say that stats don't matter, we can't even talk about it because KSU's already put that down the drain and said that, look, on hard point, we're going to take this. Now in S&D, who knows? I mean, the records aren't outstanding for either side here on S&D. So I feel like that's the biggest kind of contributing factor for both these teams to say, look, we can sit there and find ourselves a dub, knowing that, sure, whether or not, like, say, a 9-3 or, like, I'd say a 5-5, no matter what it is, it's still going to look pretty darn even knowing that you've both got losses and wins. You're not an undefeated team. You're not flawless by any regard. You can still be defeated if you put in the right work. If you sit there and really reinforce your roles, know how to play the game correctly, you can definitely finesse anything here.
Yeah, big time. That's what I'm going to be looking at. You know, you stated it with the search and destroy records coming in. I mean, Niner Esports currently sitting at 9-3 overall in search and destroy, and then on the other side, Kennesaw State, they're currently sitting at 10-5. So, I mean, as you stated, these squads are very, very even. Yes, Kennesaw State has taken a couple more losses in search and destroy, but at the end of the day, still going to have twice as many wins in search as they do losses. So, you know, Kennesaw State definitely not going to be any pushovers right here. And I mean, honestly, if they could win a hard point when their hard point record is 13-11, like, that is not a good hard point record. Like just straight up, that is, like, compared to the rest of their stats, that's just not a good hard point record. So, I mean, for them winning that first hard point against this Niner Esports squad, I mean, Kennesaw State, they're looking extremely good. I know their confidence is going to be through the roof right now. They're saying, listen, we can win this thing in 3 games. Simple as that. I mean, there's no reason they can't.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to for them. I think they're a little bit scared now to know that they had themselves a safety net. They got that first map, and they're saying we don't have to really go ahead and aggress too much on another map. Let's not go ahead and get tilted off something. Let's go ahead and sit there and pace ourselves to know that we have created that space for ourselves now. We have that leniency. But now this is where you kind of have a little bit of stress put on because, as you said, they want to take this as quickly as possible now. I mean, the last thing you want to do is for Niners to go and figure out really what KSU's doing here, get a little bit crazy. It's not purely just by slaying power because we've seen a lot of lives traded out. There's something bigger here going on. And, I mean, Niners are eventually going to figure it out. You want to make sure to take this dub, though, before they finally get a grasp of what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And, now we're going to see exactly what these squads got on the line right here today. I mean, listen, I always say this map, it tells you whether you're about that life or not as a squad. If y'all want to go A on offense, guess what? You're about that life. You're about the action. You're about the war. But if you go B, you're playing it safe. And, there's nothing wrong with playing it safe, getting off to that early lead. But I definitely want to see who's going to be pulling out the first A push here today.
Yeah, when you sit there and pull out B, I mean, that's just a more exciting one because you see these 4v4 retakes, you see the flanks coming out, you see just so much chaos come really through, and already you see a very, very aggressive push on from Snake. Looking to get on that site, trying to back up S and say, look, this side's clear, I've cleared every corner, and even then, if I didn't, I'm not dead yet, so we should be perfectly fine to go and push in knowing how small the side is. So with the return to come through, and the first two bloods going to the side of old KSU, goodness gracious, what a start for him.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one. Now Smiley is going to be by his lonesome. Snake with a big 1v1. Oof. Finally, Anku is going to be able to take out Snake. Anku is going to be last alive in the 1v3 situation. And, I mean, let's be honest, not going to be able to clutch this one out.
Hey, what's with the pessimistic here? Come on.
Pessimistic?
Yeah.
What?
Not having to clutch it up. He could have sat there and found something. Like, come on, he could have sat there and close to 1v3. I know it looked pretty dire, but I mean, we can't get him out yet.
He would have needed to find a leprechaun. He would have needed to find all that. that was out of reach, man. 26 seconds. If they would have let that one go the way they were set up, man, I don't know. He would have had to win 3 of the craziest gunfights ever to win that one. You're right, though. You're right. Let me not douse his fire just quite yet. But shout out to KSU getting that early offensive round. Let's see if Niner Esports can answer back.
And that's definitely what they got to do, especially at that first round. We sat there and saw the setup from KSU. We saw the round from them, and it looked so darn good. I mean, with it being so swift. I mean, they sat there won darn near every single fight. Almost found it in a flawless fashion right off the get-go. You can't really ignore that, but you finally talked about the A hit. It's coming out right now.
Yeah, exactly. This is Niner Esports pretty much saying, you know what, we're confident in going A, B, doesn't matter. As Smiley is able to pick up 2 from the mid, and that's going to be massive as they're going to be getting this bomb down for this hallway. And I mean, honestly, right here, right now, Niner Esports, no excuses to lose this round. As looks like a player did drop out, unfortunately. So, all right, let's go ahead and see what's going to be happening as Snake is currently in the 1v4. He is able to pick up 1. He's got only 25 seconds remaining, so a similar situation. It's going to be extremely difficult, but not impossible. But he is finally going to get taken out as Niner Esports tie things up 1-1.
Yeah, they found themselves that first round and I mean, get themselves on the board, and that's what you're looking for. And you're looking for an answer, knowing that it's attacking. The best thing you can do before you really go ahead and get a feel. I mean, these first couple rounds are feeler rounds, seeing what the setups are, looking for the defaults, looking for where these players are going to go ahead and set themselves up. Because the one thing that you really can't change on the fly too much is kind of just muscle memory, tendencies. I mean, that's going to really come out anyways. And you want to make sure that whenever you really go ahead and dwindle down into the game, you're saying, you can make those adjustments, but when you finally do, you feel uncomfortable. You're saying if a player usually always sits on A on that defense, and you know the positions that they sit in, when they finally sit there and say, all right, A isn't working for anymore. They've sat there and sniffed out all my tricks, and I can't do that. I need to shift over to B now. You don't really know where to set up because you're not too typically used to staying there, especially in this kind of 4v4 oriented environment. So, I mean, talking about that, though, it's only 1-for-1, so we can't really trip out about it. It all comes down to whether or not we can see that first defensive round come through, that first full slate, that first staying alive, looking for a siege in that retake, and finding the defuse on top of it as well. Because every single time we even get to that point, so many players are playing overzealous on that defensive stage, looking for that frag immediately when the bomb goes down. You need to wait for your squad. There's no exchanges there. I noticed that the Niners and both with KSU so far, and like I said, it's only feeler rounds, that they're probably getting overzealous just to see where they die from, but I mean, as weird as a strat that may be, it's still nonetheless going to go ahead and pitch to the bigger picture that's going to take over course of this map.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, looking over at this one, we did just get word from the referees that they are going to be restarting this one 1-1. So it's going to be a 1st-to-5 situation once we get back into the game, simply because guess what? Both teams picked up an offensive round. So both teams have agreed that, it was pretty straightforward. One team wanted offense, other team wanted offense. Why not just reset it 1-1? Smart plays, and we're going to see it all happening right here, right now. And I mean, right now, let's be honest, the fact that Niner Esports were able to go A and do it so flawlessly was absolutely incredible. Smiley picking up those first 2 kills in the mid is absolutely huge for this squad. And I mean, as you stated, going to A this early and finding success, it can set you up for even more success later on. When you need to go B, you're going to be met with a lot less opposition.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing that comes down to it. I feel like it always comes down to a tempo thing, because I mean, that's why I love Berlin. You can choose the pacing of the game. If you sit there and say, oh, we have more SMGs, we like to get aggressive, we like to get in their face, A's your pick. You're more of a slow playing team that has some snipers and automaton and then some SMGs to play for that at close quarters. All right, well then go B and set up for the long game. Sit there and find yourself these long picks, these long lines of sight to say, okay, we can find ourselves an easy shot and really go ahead and hunker down on that. So I mean, that's why I love Berlin. Right there in the middle, you don't find too much contention, but that's always the wild card. Are you going to have a player set up there? Are you going to look for somebody really putting up that speed bump for these defenders? You go ahead and cross back on the map when you sit there and say, are they going back to A or B? They have to go through the middle eventually. Not going to run through spawn. They're going to make sure to take the most efficient route possible, and sometimes that may bite them in the rear. So, I mean, that's kind of exciting thing about this map. That's why I love Berlin. And even then, with all that being said, it also comes down to really how these teams are going to be making these adjustments. Whether we're going to see these roadblocks put up, whether or not we're going to see kind of a shift every single time, or whether we see some kind of a change in the loadouts for teams to say, look, all right, Niners, we sat there and won that pretty well on A. If things go south, well, do we go to B now? It's always those questionable moments that really go ahead and make the biggest differentials.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the thing is they haven't even tried B yet. And yes, B is the bread and butter play, but you don't know if it's going to be working out for you. A lot of times we've seen players on the defensive side be able to lock that down by themselves, be able to lock B down, getting nice timing, catching these players off guard when they're planting the bomb, things like that. Yeah. I mean, who knows? It's just going to take one defensive round potentially to really change this momentum in this series for sure. I mean, 1-1 right now. I will say the momentum is probably still on the side of Kennesaw State after that map 1. Still a pretty decisive victory, about 72 points, I believe it was, coming on top of Niner Esports overall as a whole in that map number 1. So in this map number 2 right here, they've got the momentum. They just need to keep it going together. I mean, 5 rounds, that's all you got to get to. Let's see if they can do it.
Yeah, I think it's most definitely possible. Look at these 2 squads thus far. It all comes down to whether or not who wins his first defense. And I mean, just that alone, man, honestly, I don't know if I can have a tell just yet. I mean, looking at records, obviously people would say Niners. But then again, we could also say Niners during hardpoint, and that didn't exactly go anybody's way. So we got to sit there and consider, I mean, the setups. But from what I saw thus far off the get-go, sure, we mentioned aggression on the A, and then we sat there and looked at the plays of the KSU on the B. KSU's B looked a heck of a lot better than, I would say Niners A. I mean, their post plant really wasn't too sufficient. It didn't look extremely reinforced. But KSU's defense on B, or their post plant, it looked really, really good. But, I mean, only time will tell whether or not they can keep that consistency. Well, with all things said there, we will be throwing it to a short little break to go ahead and make sure that we can get this lobby set up right before we get right back into the action. Because keep in mind, it's a best of 5. Things are now on the line. Catch you in a second.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the CCL. We are jumping right into the action right here, right now. It is going to be KSU on the offensive side, and they're going to be heading right back over to B. Now, this is a reset. The score is currently 1-1, so it is going to be first to the score of 5 to come out victorious in this one. It is going to be 50 over there that is going to need to shut down this push coming in from Snake and Este over here onto this B bomb site. But that is going to be a big first blood coming in from Smiley.
Yeah, that was a massive setup that we already saw trying to get set up from Gizmo there, but the just exchange comes through, you see the bloods come out, and even then you don't see the bomb down as some kind of leverage. So the last player standing is me, S, looking for some kind of play, trying to rope around, but I mean, when you sit there and have so many Niner players scattered on the B side, just not too much you can do. So that first round, already Niners going up now, 2-1 inside of this map so far. A pretty solid round, I would say, for them, and even exchange the middle of the map. And like I said, it's setting up that speed bump. It's looking for going ahead, creating that stall, and we just didn't see that at a Gizmo. Instead, keeping around the bomb, and I sit there and appreciate the effort there, but with the bombs not down, you have to have a much bigger vision to be working with.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, now that's going to be that big defensive round that we talked about. I mean, we said the offenses looked pretty solid for sure, but the fact that Niner was able to come out and win that first defensive round, it's going to be massive, as it is going to be a pretty standard B push going to be coming out. It's only going to be one player over here to stop this push, and that is going to be Snake. So this bomb might have a pretty free opportunity to go down. Just got to wait and see, but no, that is going to be 50, dropping to Snake on the backside. Anku is going to be able to pick that one up, trade it out, down low. Dark winning the big 1v1 against Est in the middle. Oh, man, that was a huge one for Niner.
Yeah, a huge turnaround there. Already making now a 3v2 when you're the attacking side. We saw how efficient their attack was earlier, but may not be as efficient this time when you got Trauma on site, keeping that bomb on lockdown. But the cross comes through. You see that Trauma's now the last one standing. That player to grab the only kill in this round thus far is looking to grab himself a couple more. So, I mean, everything to come through thus far. You're right on the outside. Can't really do too much just yet. You know that you have the bomb on lockdown, but with these Niner players, I think an easy pinch will go and clean up this round.
Oh, precisely, but he did spot Dark. Oh, why did you shoot? Oh, now Dark is going to understand the situation. Oh, what a play coming in from Trauma, but no, he got turned and burned. Oh, my goodness. Niner Esports going to be going up 3-1 in this second map right here, right now, is Dark turning and burning Trauma. What a play.
This is where you see the backup. I mean, every single time you had to answer those defensive rounds with another one. It showed that, okay, it wasn't that big a deal. Right back to square one. We go back and forth, but this one of those kind of big problems now where you sit there and see 3-1. That's 2 rounds you're now in a deficit from, and you really have to step things up. And quite honestly, KSU just haven't had themselves a kind of performance to really go ahead and just play out that game to go ahead and win those back-to-backs. I mean, even then, sure, they've lost in attacking. Sure, they've lost the defense. This is a big problem here that they really have to sit there and kind of address. But problem is they don't have the time to do it. They need to get that bomb down. They have to play the aggressive offense we've sit there and seen and know and love. And they have to get that bomb down to play offense. With Onko going ahead, finding that first pick and 50 to back them up. It's going to make it much harder now.
Yeah, precisely. And now it's going to be a 2v3 deficit coming in for this KSU roster, as that bomb is already down. Niner Esports are set up pretty solidly around this bomb site. I mean, player number 3 in Trauma is just going to be waiting for anyone coming around on the backside near these trains, but that's just not going to happen. So who knows? Maybe Trauma is going to need to make the play and hit a big flank. But, you know, with that player dropping, leaving Trauma in the 1v3, it's going to be dire straits. But I will say he might be able to catch one of these players off guard simply because they are not going to be expecting him to be way back here.
Yeah, problem is he only has 26 seconds left on the clock. So, I mean, he's just not going to make something. He's just saying, yeah, this one's kind of a wrap. You can't really manage too much there. You're on the opposite side of the map. You got 3 players sitting in your way. There's so many corners to check, especially on the massive map that is Berlin. And there's just not really too much to really stand out there. And dude knew he didn't have himself a streak, knew he didn't want to give it over to the side as well. So he sat there and said, let me go ahead and end up this round as quickly as possible in an efficient manner. So as we already see, I mean, we go to break, sitting there, at least find the crash on a 1-1. We come back 3 rounds later, and Niners are running away with this now 4-1.
Yeah, it's 4-1, and Dark is going to have this bomb in hand. It looks like they're going back to this A bomb site. Dark is currently on that 5 spree. So let's see if this A push is going to be working out for him, as 50 is going to be coming up through the middle, going up top, and just trying to spot a player. Oh my goodness, he has no idea if he turns around, he'd probably see 2. Oh, and Trauma is able to pick up the first blood. That's going to be 50 coming in, getting that trade. And now they've got control of backside A. The question is are they going to try to work this A site? There is still Este inside of this A bomb site. who could go big, but 50
Oh.
picking up Gizmo. That's going to be a big one. Este got spotted out. Beautifulized by Dark to be able to spot him. And now it's going to be Snake left in the 1v3 as this bomb's going to be going down today. And Niner Esports about to go up 5-1.
And even then, when you looked at what 50 was doing, he was moving around the map, then looking to get even closer to that bomb, playing across the map, seeing what intel he could get. And I'm sure he had some that was missed, but you go ahead and make up for it. You find all the necessary kills. You now make it a 3v1. And with Snake moving around that corner, he also moves himself into the graveyard. So now, once again, another round win from the side of Niner Esports, now going up 5-1 here inside of this map thus far. And I mean, you just can't ignore this dominance. This is a big problem for KSU to say, okay, we sat there and told them, okay, you got the momentum of hardpoint. You got to run away with this. You have to take this series as fast as possible now before the Niners start figuring out what's going on. Well, I think they know exactly what's going on, and they've sat there and utilized that. They are now absolutely running away with this S&D as it looks thus far.
Yeah, and it's going to be Dark that is going to be fully streaked out, so that is going to be this KSU squad that are going to be heading over to A, trying to make it happen on their side this time. But no, that's going to be Smiley on the outside, shutting this push down. The Snake currently 1-4, pushing in, is able to pick up Dark, which is going to be a big trade. Can he pick up Smiley, though? Doesn't look like it for now, and he's going to say, you know what, let me go ahead and get this bomb down. Este going to be on the outside. 3 kills coming in for KSU.
Ooh.
Bomb did drop. Now it's going to be all up to the defuse coming in from 50. He is able to find one. He's in good position to be able to clutch this if he potentially wraps around. And yes, that is what he's going to be doing. No, coming back, a little bit of trickery. Might be able to catch them off guard. See if this is going to be some nice timing coming out. No, going to be getting shot in the back. Going to be getting called out. Now, he did spot this player in Estate go over there. But yeah, gonna get hunted down regardless. I mean, they knew that he was extremely weak, so, you know, great stuff by KSU coming out and getting their second round win of this game. Currently down 5-2.
Yep, looking a little bit more doable now as you find yourself in an exchange. You get around on the board now, at least in terms of what we got so far in the map. And I mean, that's kind of what they needed, but quite honestly, I feel like Niners, that was just more of a lack of read. When you sit there and see the exchanges, as you see that they're a little bit one-sided for the side of KSU there, Niners didn't really have the point to retaliate. I mean, that was very good to go for those clutches, try and shut down whatever you can. You know, a lot of these players are kind of getting set up, and nobody really has a streak too much besides Snake. So you sit there and say, okay, let's keep on running away with it. Let's do what we can. But as it looks thus far, you're trying to find yourself an answer. You're trying to get on the board now. You're trying to end this thing out. But Este already ending the life of a player on the Niners as 50 falls a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, and that's going to be unfortunate because that is going to be bombed down. Now 3-4 deficit for this Niner Esports roster. As Dark finally did get that streak shut down, but I mean, still, he's going to be on the map, so he still does have full streaks in his back pocket, excuse me, as the trade is going to be coming out, making it a 3v2 advantage right now for KSU. I mean, right now, Gizmo just going to be locking down this area up top. It's now all going to be left up to Smiley, all by his lonesome. KSU bringing this back a little bit closer. I mean, now we're looking at a 5-3 situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just these rounds, man. I'm not seeing the team plays. I'm not seeing them going ahead and working off of each other. And quite honestly, I mean, Niners, they've sat there and been the majority slayers, but it's something I see in every single kind of FPS. Teams get overzealous. They sit there and say, okay, we're winning these fights overwhelmingly right now. We're going to sit there and just kind of isolate across the map and this as fast as possible and then win each one of these 1v1s. You're not going to run to 1v1s every time. You need to sit there and keep playing as a squad. You have to look for these exchanges. You have to look for these double downs, these crossfires. And once you start getting yourself a lead, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So why are you changing up so much until it stops working?
Very good questions coming out. And, you know, right now we just got to see if Niner Esports are going to be able to answer back. Anku is able to pick up the first blood onto Gizmo. That is going to be a big one for sure. There's going to be Este on the side. He's able to spot Dark. He's going to be able to dip out with his life. Dark coming up for the challenge, but he saw his head. Yeah, he is going to be able to pick him off. Beautiful play coming in. As it is going to be now a 3v3 situation. 50. Let's see what he can do on this backside. I mean, right now it is going to be KSU that are going to be locking this one down, killing the flanker as well. And now the question is, do we rotate out to B? We killed the person flanking. So who knows? All we really got to do is watch this middle area. There is going to be this player in Anku that is going to be here. Can Anku make the play? That's going to be the question. Oh, my goodness. He is dancing all around these players. Finally able to spot Snake, but can he catch up to him? Yes. He is going to be able to pick him off. He says, you know what? Go ahead and give me that MP40. Close range. I'm going to be good to go. Este coming down the stairs. He's able to pick up Anku. Big kill. Is now 50. He's going to be left alone in the 1v2. Bomb is going to be going down. He's going to need to retake this one. He's not going to be seeing trauma. I believe he maybe saw him. He's going to hop the bomb. He's going to stretch it. Yep, here we go. Lay down and stretch it. Always, anytime that you're going to stretch it, always lay down. Here we go. They're not going to be able to see this. I can almost guarantee right now he's going to push up this round.
I don't think they see nothing here.
It's a perfect stretch. Perfect stretch. Yep, it's a perfect stretch. That's Niner Esports running the map. That's what I said. I can see it coming. You got to plant the bomb on the front side of the bomb.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You have to.
You have to. You have to understand if you're going to be planting it on the side right there, it can be stretched. Anytime you stretch the bomb, you always want to lay down. It's going to be way further away that your body is going to be away from the bomb, opposed to just standing up, walking up to it, and touching it. So I don't even know what to say. At that point, KSU, Kennesaw, they had the setup, they had the plan.
Yeah.
You just got to watch the bomb at that point. So a Ninja Defuse 1v2 coming out for Niner Esports to be able to cap off the victory, and now we got ourselves a 1-1 series.
Yeah, and even then, already the quick exchange here for the Niners, and that's exactly what they needed. They need to say, okay, look, we sat there and lost the match we shouldn't have. Quite honestly, yeah, we only have one loss in the entire season. You go ahead and double our losses for that. That's a problem. Let's go ahead and sit there, and when we got to S&D, let's make the exchange. Now that the game's slowed down, now we have to show that we can at least play the map a little bit more efficiently when we decide to. Because even then, regardless of them winning out that and going ahead and getting into the stage where they're saying, all right, look, things are now going to start heating up a little bit, you can't sit there and fall asleep at the wheel. We sat there and saw so many occasions where they were just kind of going ahead, finding these single-off fights, saying, look, let's go ahead and go for these 1v1s, and they sat there and started losing them. It was 2 rounds that KSU accumulated back-to-back, and it sat there and said, okay, well, I wasn't thinking about a comeback, but, it could be possible here. I'm not really too sure. But, as we sit there and even look at what they had to provide there, you got to see now the board. Everything's evened up. You fall asleep enough, but you can at least finish that last one, as KSU is now looking a little bit more threatened, I would say, saying that they sat there and don't have themselves that lead anymore. Things are now tied up again. You start right back from 0-0. And we can even say now that it'd be 1st-2, kind of like that last match where we said it was 1st-5 instead. So all things considered, to really get to that stage, you got to sit there and we'll go through control.
Yeah, exactly. Getting a double dose of Tuscan in the next 2 maps, it can be huge. We'll see if this squad can keep this momentum going. Being able to tie things up. Shout out to this Niner Esports squad, but Kennesaw State, they're not going to be going quietly into the night. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back with that Tuscan control after this very, very short break. We got a very good series for you. You aren't going to want to go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CCL. We are here in Week 9 of Stage 2. I'm Rome DMV, joined alongside Mick, and we did have a little bit of an elongated break simply because there was a game update that we had to wait on, so everyone had to get out, go ahead and update their games. Call of Duty said, you know what, 8:30 p.m., go ahead and have an update. Let's go ahead and drop it on their head. So we don't exactly know what this update entails, let's be honest. We don't know if this is the update that changes control to ticks over. We have no idea. So we don't think it did.
Yeah, we hope it did.
Yeah, exactly. We hope it did, right? Who knows though? But for now, it seems like that's not the case, at least for now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the maps overall, so you guys can look at exactly what we're going to be getting into. After that elongated break, we are going to be heading into a Tuscan control. It's going to be a best-of-3 series the rest of the way. Double dose of Tuscan, finished off with Bokage. It's going to be good to go. This series, it could be a momentum shift right here in a big way. I got to be honest, after the way the Niner Esports handled that one, KSU going to need to come back strong.
I completely agree. That map kind of turned completely on its head. As everything was looking this far, I was even, and sure those first 2 rounds, so I'm not going to freak out about them. But, the way the game played out, it was like, what happened? Where did this come from? Niners obviously sitting there looking at the stats. We're like, all right, sweet. Everything's looking good for them. We expect them to go ahead and kind of turn things up here soon. But not in that kind of respect that we saw in those first 3 rounds when coming back from that break. So even then on Control, that's where they really got to step things up. Because, Control is that one mode to where everybody's a little bit confused about it. I feel like no team has really gotten the huge sway of how things are going to work to really find that consistency on the attacking side and the defensive side, because every single other mode feels a little bit even to some extent. But Control is always going to feel one-sided in some respect, and we haven't really seen anybody turn things up here, at least in the season thus far. In Vanguard, to say we can consistently win both sides and completely dominate it, and the stats tell itself.
Yeah, and I mean, the interesting thing that I'm looking at is like yesterday when I was casting, I mean, it was all defense. Then it came to that 5th round, and the offensive team wiped the floor with them. They beat them by like 15 kills. So I'm like, wait, where was this energy in the last 4 rounds? Like, why did it take till the 5th round of Control for someone to figure out offense? But I mean, hey, as long as you figure it out eventually, that's all that matters. And I mean, let's see exactly how these squads are going to be able to battle it out right here. I mean, the biggest change I've personally seen in Tuscan Control is that teams are starting to figure out, you know, how to push out this B point early and often and try to get these early ticks of progression. Because I mean, the times that we have seen these offensive teams win, they've been able to capture B extremely quickly.
Yeah, they most definitely have. And so, I mean, looking at this right off the get-go, you see a default, you see the team splitting up and not really too over antsy to sit there deciding one side or the other. But, I mean, right there, the push coming out from S, going for a flank, that is a really good way to start yourself off.
Yeah, precisely. And, I mean, right now it's just going to be all up to Dark coming in from the mid to be able to stop this progression coming through. You can see the pinch is definitely going to be coming out, but this is a smart play coming out of KSU. They have one person slowly going to be getting this time at A, just making sure that, guess what? You're on the point. You're keeping that clock not moving. And anytime that clock isn't moving, you can have players pressure over that B side as they did. Even though the pressure got thwarted, I mean, it's still going to be a solid play coming out of KSU to kick things off.
Yeah, most definitely already grabbing that first tick, looking to grab at least half the second as well. When you double stack that site and you have S in the back, just playing as an absolute rat, that's a good way to hold down at least the side of the map. Go ahead and create that pressure so that even then when you do want to break things up, when you want to get yourself on the site, we've already probably picked up the entirety of it. So there it goes. Hey, now being off the board, now you get yourself that extra minute to be working with, and the lives are still evened up. So a really good city here for KSU on the attacking side.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They're currently up by 2. Snake in the back, currently on a 3 spree. 4-2 to his name. It is going to be Dark. That is going to be wide swing. Here we go. Big win yet again coming out of Snake. Currently on a 4, but he is going to get shut down in the backside by 50. Now it's going to be Estee up top, catching some bad timing. Niner Esports going to be clearing out, tying things up in the kills as well. 18 all.
So, I mean, even lives here, even plays, no real time on B just yet, but you've at least accumulated half of the time to go ahead and the entirety grabbing that A site thus far. But Dark looking to push up into the spawns a little bit more, trying to hold down the middle of the map and make sure there's no crosses coming through. But instead, you sit there and you get S to go ahead and shoot you right in the ear hole there. So, and even exchange come on the outside the map as well, and then you sit there and look for the plays that are trying to come about. With everybody now pushing right onto B, not going for any kind of crazy plays, looking to just push right up to the middle, get yourself those kills, and I mean, it's kind of going ahead and paying its jobs. But I mean, even then, with Dark right there in that window to find that shot, still defending B pretty sufficiently. Snake probably going to push for these spawns now, trying to look for a lock.
Exactly. I mean, you can see right now, 50 is going to be sitting at 1-5 right now. Still 0 ticks of progression have come through, though. So, I mean, solid positioning right now out of this Niner Esports squad. And KSU, you can start to feel it. The game's starting to slow down. I'm not exactly sure they're going to be in a comfortable situation because pushing this, it's just going to be oh so hard. Dark is just waiting in the wings. Oh, and is able to pick up one dropping down. That's a big kill. I mean, right here, right now, any kill coming in for Niner Esports is going to be absolutely huge, as there's only going to be 2 more pushes going to be coming in for this squad. This KSU is going to need to go absolutely huge. This kill right here, going to need to come through, but no, Dark is able to pick him off, and I mean, this should be Niner Esports locking this defensive side down.
Yeah, it should. I mean, with only 10 seconds remaining, you're just looking for lives. You're looking to play it slow, and I don't think KSU is going to go for any kind of crazy play here, but they're still pushing up. They're getting some time now, surprisingly enough, with 5.6 remaining. When you push off, Gizmo, you're not doing anybody any favors. You just need to play back now. You have 2 life of a differential. You know that you sat there giving the Niners this round win, and you can't really tweak about it because they were on the defense. So now, going on to the other side, you're just looking to go ahead and save as many lives as possible, considering that we're hoping that, remember that, you know, we're still running this by lives and not ticks this time around.
I mean, yeah, and I'm looking at this. It's currently 22 to 24 kills. I had to do some quick caster math real quick. Currently 24 in the favor of Niner Esports, so they're up by only 2 kills at this moment. I don't know if that's going to be a good enough advantage currently. I mean, we've seen, some extremely close situations where it's, 102 to 99, extremely close situations to decide who gets that final defensive round. But it looks like this B push is going to be coming out for Niner Esports. The push is going to be thwarted yet again. I mean, these teams are trying to make B happen early. Both squads on defense shutting it down.
Yeah, I mean, already a pretty good start here. Obviously, the Niners going to be picking up some time on that A side, but Snake wraps around and still finds himself in defense towards that B area as well. So make sure that even exchange on both sides, but even then, you going ahead and looking at the way the A is pushing this far, Niners are just stacking it. I mean, that's all they're doing, and that's all there is to it. Able to go ahead and already capitalize on that, grab themselves 2 minutes of time to be working with, and 2 life advantage now, making it a 1. They push to the middle. They try to find some kind of alternate angle. If they're going to do it, they need to do it right now. You can definitely see Anko trying to work for that, but he can't really find the kill to really push up into those spawns. Instead, Dark is going to take a shot at it as well.
And Dark is going to be able to pick up 1. Currently sitting at 9 and 7. It's going to be Trauma in the backside waiting for him. He's just going to be trying to lock down these spawns with this auto, making sure nobody can come through, push out this backside. Such a power position right now is going to be coming out of Trauma. You can see the kills going down. In the church currently, the Trauma, I mean, they're going to need to break him out of this position. Either that or go through the middle, but it is going to be a wild snake sitting right there lurking. And whew, that snake bite is absolutely lethal right here. Man, KSU locking this one down so far. Doing a nice job. Still only a minute 10 remaining, but no ticks of progression have come through on B yet.
Yeah, a little bit slower progression here towards B. We don't really see too much of a push just yet, but you still have a minute on the clock. There's no stress for time right now. You just go ahead and find the right picks, create some kind of I'd say a setup here to get yourself onto that site. So you can't really be too mad about what's going on thus far, but still you haven't picked up a tick of progress yet. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them if they wanted to stay on that site until they got it. So there it goes. You're already getting that 1 tick. You sit there, know you're getting the progress. You got yourself somewhat of a checkpoint now. With 3 kills to back it up as well, you see the exchange coming into the back. You know that now 2 ticks of progress. Niners are looking like they could win this one.
Yeah, I mean, Niners looking good. The whole kill feed's going green, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be 4 down, and that's going to be 4 on the point cap, and it is Niner Esports picking up the first offensive win on Tuscan Control. I mean, this is what we talked about. You might be able to make it happen. Teams are starting to figure it out. That's exactly what Niner just did. Now all they got to do is win 1 defense, ladies and gentlemen. And, I mean, the way that offense just looked, whew, good luck.
I mean, yeah, just an outstanding look thus far, and even then KSU looking to answer back pretty aggressively, but I mean, I'm just not sure too much what they can do. Knowing they're right back on the attacking side, they're in a really tough predicament. If they went ahead and opened up with the defense and sat there and found themselves that win, you'd say, okay, look, I mean, not too big a deal, but I mean, they just didn't find that exchange. They didn't make it evened up. I mean, now knowing that on the attacking side, you have to answer with this, then go back to defense where you just lost. There's a lot of pressure really put on you thus far, but there's some pretty good frags, I'd say, to go ahead and necessitate that, but thing is, you need a little bit more. You have to get yourself on the net site. You have to get those ticks of progress. You have to sit there and look at the bigger picture thus far, and they're definitely doing that. They're now following onto the site. They're picking up time on A. They haven't double stacked it because you can see that progress is pretty slow there, but regardless, you're still making work do.
And I mean, right here, right now, let's see what this squad Niner can do. Trying to keep this momentum going. I mean, if KSU can pick up this round right here, who knows? This whole entire map might be swinging around in their favor. But I mean, they've already got 2 ticks of progression. They're feeling good, looking good right now. And there's going to be Smiley. You can see him just waiting for any little sneaky beaver that is going to be making their way, trying to sneak over to B. And I mean, I like the setup right now out of Niner. They're essentially saying you are going to have to cap A. We're not going to just be giving it to you. You're going to have to earn it, and that's exactly what they have finally done just now, as it seems like they are most likely going to be able to finish off A and leave themselves with a minute 40 over at B.
That's a really impressive look when you sit there and see that. I mean, you can create a halt on A. That's not really accomplished too much, but Dark does accomplish 2 kills there to go ahead and say, look, here's the cleanup on A. They finally captured it, but we got to make sure to punish them one way or another. So you definitely go ahead and manage that. But Anko already pushing up, looking for some mid-influence, trying to make sure that they can't find themselves on the outside. And with that double little duelist there with the old, I'd say MP40 in hand, and the automaton, the guy's really fit for any kind of situation. All comes down to whether or not his teammates are. Because Smiley, not ready with the automaton to go ahead and grab the kill there towards that B site. But with all the pushes coming through, you still have yourself a 2 life advantage to the Niners. So you're not really too beat up about it.
Yeah, precisely. But I mean, Este, the way they're going to be pushing in, I mean, they've got up top control right here, right now. They've got great positioning, but it is going to be Anku, who is going to be in perfect position to thwart this push. I mean, Este picks up another one. Anku coming in on the back. Anku picks up one. Can he find the second, though? It is going to be a player waiting for him. Este is going to be able to take him out. I mean, right now, Este going to be on a 5 spree. And if I'm Este right now, just play your life. Get these streaks. These streaks can be absolutely huge to push out the backside. And you might be able to find yourself with a victory at the end of it. But, oh, man, Este just needing to play his life just a little bit longer. You can see right now, player number 2, he's just going to be waiting up top, playing so smart, dropping down low. He's going to be going into church right now, trying to find a play to get these streaks going. Dark gonna be heading on up. Snake gonna get dropped as well. 8-8 situation, but only 23 seconds remaining. They're gonna need to get on this point and need to get on it in a hurry. But I don't know if that's gonna be possible. It's gonna come down to Dark. It's gonna come down to Dark versus Este right here at the top of the stairs. Este's gonna be able to get the better of him, and now Snake and Trauma, they might be able to flood in, but that's gonna be Anku, Smiley, Fitty, taking them all out. Streaks coming in as well from Este, but too little, too late. As it is going to be only Gizmo on the point. And Gizmo, you're going to need to clutch up a literal 1v2 situation in order to keep this game going. He was able to pick off one. You have to win another 1v1 in order to keep your team in this one. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to be challenging him just yet. He's still on the point, ladies and gentlemen. No one's gotten him off. Gizmo being the gadget that they need, but with the last life remaining, he's going to be dropping as he needed to clutch up the 1v3. And Niner Esports going to be coming in with the solid, decisive 3-0 victory.
Yeah, a huge one here for Niners to go ahead and step things back up, saying, look, we're right back in this thing. Sure, we lost our first hard point, knowing that we're going right back to that. We got to make sure to make a statement by then. They found themselves a very, very definitive statement to make when they sit there and win the attacking side on control. We even talked about it going into there, saying who's going to go ahead and figure this thing out. Well, at least in the respective Niners versus KSU, the Niners figured it out. They found that recipe to success, and they really capitalized on it. But I mean, just across the board, you got to sit there and look at the players who really brought that into light. And quite honestly, I want to say it was Dark. And look at that 22-15. Look at those 18 non-traded kills. I mean, those 5 tiers captured. There's just so much that this guy was doing that, I mean, you really just can't sit there and say he wasn't an MVP in some respect. Constant time on the clock, constant kills that are coming out. I mean, he's just doing it all. But the rest of the team, they're also just doing so good when it came around to that offense. I mean, look at how many kills from 50 and Onko. They were pushing in that spawn. They were making work of what they had.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, all of a sudden, this Niner Esports squad, they came alive. I don't know what happened in that first map. Maybe they said, you know what, we're not supposed to lose hard points. We're going to go ahead and put this squad down and let them know that we are decisively the better team, because now we're going to be heading back to another hard point, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, currently 15-2 now in hard, or 14-2 now in hard point. You know, who knows? Is this going to be the third one? The thing is, KSU, they're going to need to win another hard point against this squad in order to push it to this game 5, and that is going to be extremely difficult to do.
Yeah, and that's just to push it to the game 5. Then afterwards, they got to win themselves an S&D to get the series. I mean, if you're KSU right now, you've already gotten a lot to work with. You sat there and said, okay, we got to map a hard point off of them. That's outstanding. But now you're at the stage where you sat there and you got your little bit of glory and you're saying, I want more and more and more and more. How much can you really ask for? That's the biggest thing. And how much can you really sustain as KSU in this roster thus far to know what your record's been in the season and whether or not you can actually warrant what you're asking for? And I mean, you got to work for what you need. And we just haven't really seen that yet. So, I mean, looking at it, going back into hard point, going now right back to Tuscan where we just saw them lose. Honestly, I mean, just kind of in the same respect, when you see what these teams have to provide, when you see the way that Niners played out that map, now making it 3-0 off that alone, you sit there and say, well, they kind of made it their home ground now.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, now the fact that they were able to win that map so decisively, as you said, especially that final round, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Going into the hard point, I mean, the rotation's probably going to be on point. The communication, the teamwork is definitely there. I mean, things are definitely looking up for this Niner Esports roster. But the thing is that this KSU squad, they still came out and shocked them on Bokage. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe this Tuscan might end up going the way of KSU as well if they can string together that momentum that they were able to find early on. Because once they got that lead in that second rotation, they never gave it back, honestly.
Yeah.
So, you know, shout out to this Kennesaw State roster. We just got to see if they can do it. Repeat performance yet again.
And even then, in a map like this on Tuscan, you can actually set up to go ahead and accumulate a lot of time on that first hill. That's something that we really missed out on Bokaj and that we don't really see too often because, as I said, a lot of these teams just want to say, all right, well, let's go ahead, tap it for a second, or just run through it and get 1 second every here and there just to go ahead and make every little bit count. Thing is, on Tuscan, you can absolutely set up on A. You can absolutely set up on that first map, on that first point, and say, okay, we can run away with this, get ourselves an entire 40 to start things off. And then when we come around to the reset, we go right back to it and get all 60. I mean, you can actually go ahead and just capitalize on that first point, unlike on Bokosh. And the map is a lot more pace. And it seems like that kind of pacing is really favoring the likes of Niners right now because they don't like that upfront aggression. They don't like when they're not given time to think. They want to make some adjustments. When you're constantly respawning, you can't make those because you're already getting rushed up in the face. It's really aggravating. I'll be quite honest with you. So maybe this could be their point to really close things out.
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. Niner Esports, the way this one's going, the momentum is completely in their favor. I mean, I just think that they're going to be able to keep this going. They understand that they're the better hardpoint team, and they don't want to sit here and get embarrassed. I mean, you don't want to literally lose more hardpoints in this one series than you lost in your entire season so far. Like, that is not going to be a good week for you looking back on it. So I know the Niner Esports are going to want to get this decisive win in hardpoint on Tuscan and essentially say, you know what? That first map was a fluke. They want to be able to forget about that one, put it behind them. Only way to do that is get a decisive win here on Tuscan.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the likes of what they got thus far, I think they're definitely going to do that. I mean, we can't make any kind of too early of calls because, once again, our predictions are already scrapped. I mean, maybe it's a caster's curse or whatever. I kind of want to just let things deuce out for themselves. But, I mean, when you sit there and look at what they have to provide in the Niners and the way they play the rest of these maps, momentum is most definitely a factor here, and they seem like they could definitely close it out right now. I mean, KSU, they are more than welcome to go ahead and surprise us once more, which is what I'm looking forward to if it really does sit there and manage to come out, because I want to see this go to a Game 5. I want to see that Bokosh S&D, that with the highly aggressive map we see on one of the slowest modes we have when it comes around into the map pool, or excuse me, the mode pool. It's one of those really interesting combos that we don't see too much of. But, I mean, Tuscan, I think that it's quite honestly may end.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, I said it too. I mean, I think that, you know, your prediction is actually going to come true. At first, I said the predictions are out the window because Kennesaw State came out absolutely on fire. But, I mean, the way that this squad, Niner Esports, answered back, I mean, you said 3-1 in favor of Niner Esports. And, I mean, if they're able to keep this momentum going, it's going to be just that. So, who knows? You might have been onto something here, Mick.
Yeah, just right in the wrong regard is all it comes down to. I sat there and said they'd possibly take the control, but nobody really saw the hard point. So once again, that's kind of the only thing we can really sit there and discuss on. I mean, honestly, that's the only thing, the real only redeeming quality we have to talk about when it comes down to KSU thus far, because once we got around to S&D, they kind of got snuffed out. When we go to control, they didn't even really show up. So, I mean, we can't really sit there and discuss too much besides what their hard point was. And I think it all came down to just pure slaying power. We didn't see the rotations really be outstanding by any means necessary. We didn't see them do anything crazy or otherworldly. It was just they felt just like they weren't there when it came around to slaying power. And Niners, they sat there and got their guns warmed up. Their barrels are hot now. I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore.
Yeah, precisely. Hey, we'll see if that's going to be a problem when we get back from this very short break. We're going to be jumping right into the game action. We know you guys want to see this map 4. We want to see it too. We'll be right back as we jump right into the action. Hello and welcome back to the CCL Week 9. We are in Stage 2, ladies and gentlemen. 2 Tier 1 squads going to be battling it out on the field today, and it's going to be early and often. 50 is going to be coming out, getting the first blood in this hard point. And I mean, right now, Niner Esports with a strong start to this one. Try to keep this momentum going.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I mean, this is the map to do it, as I mentioned earlier. You can't really sit there and set up on P1 when it comes around to Bokosh, but here on Tuscan, you are more than welcome to set up yourself on that side and hold every single second if you need it. But thing is, we haven't seen the aggression to really back it up. Niner know they had themselves a 4-second advantage. It's not the largest in the world, but if you know you're stalling for time and you see the little matchup between Smiley and Trauma there on the other side of the map, they're going to be fighting for spawns here soon, knowing that P2 is going to be coming up and KSU is going to be swiping themselves onto the side, able to find all those kills. With only 10 seconds left on the clock, when you find a wipe like that, you're saying, okay, go ahead and take it. That's fine. We're resetting on the map. We're going over where we need to be instead of where we want to be. And now that we sit there and set up for this P2, we already have ourselves some seconds counting up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Gizmo is going to be currently sitting in 3-1. A nice start to him for this Kennesaw State roster. I mean, you can see the rotations are going to be coming out, but who's going to be winning them? Oh, that's a big 1v1 by Smiley, even though he does get traded out eventually. Looks like Fiddy and Dark are going to be cleaning this one up, and this should be Niner Esports that have been able to break this one and should be able to get a decent amount of time here to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit of more time here for KSU going ahead and making it even up again, but You got to look at the return. I mean, those quick kills there. I mean, it's snappy from the likes of Niners. Able to go ahead and find themselves a little bit of a return. Not too much time, not really too many players there, but now you see the rest of the group going ahead and collecting on each other. You have right there in the middle, Smiley trying to go ahead and create somewhat of a hole, knowing that KSU is saying, all right, they're creating a roadblock in the middle of the map. You can't cross there. You have to go through back. You have to go back towards spawn. You have to set up for it because KSU's already setting up. You see the 39-16 so far. Not big enough of an advantage to really go ahead and count things out. But Onko counting out Asta right there. I'm going to go ahead and say, look, buddy, this is our spawn now. Thanks for holding on to it for me.
Yeah, that was just a dirty shot coming out of Anku right there. I mean, right there. I mean, that's what you need because you can turn this one into a money hill right here, right now, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this squad and KSU are going to finally get on the point, but the pinch is going to be there. The question is, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They still have spawns. This squad in Niner Esports, they're still spawning up in the back, and they're still going to be flooding this one out. Trauma is going to be able to come in, take out Anku in the side, picks up Dark as well, and KSU going to get a big break, a much-needed one, as they're going to be getting this 25 seconds of scrap time, but not unless this player in Dark has something to say about it. He's going to be coming around the back. They're still contesting this, ladies and gentlemen. This one's not over yet. Niner Esports, they're coming for dinner. They said scrap time, our time.
I mean, I get it, and I mean, go off, Niner, but I mean, you got to realize that P4 is now coming up. This is a money hill. Every single player of KSU is on the opposing side of the map. You had yourself the freest setup I think I've ever seen in my life, and you decide to go instead for the point once again, but they find themselves in the exchange, so I can't really get too crazy about it, though. But you find that also all the kills to really open up that site. Thing is, players are still surrounded. They still have the spawns. You haven't really pushed for those just yet, knowing that KSU still has to set up there. And S now right back on site, looking to go ahead and wrap around, find some kills, maybe at least get the intel for his players, because nobody's setting up on this money hill where we usually see a full 60.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, I think Niner Esports, they're comfortable with just retaking. They say, you know what? Let's go ahead and get that 15 seconds of scrap time. A lot of people might say, yeah, 15 seconds, that's not a big deal. That's a 30-point difference. I don't think people really realize that. 15 points going our way and not going your way is a 30-point difference. So it's doubled any time. So that scrap time might actually come back to be very good to go back and get, simply because they were able to get that break so quickly onto this point in this church. And now, I mean, they're going to be having all the scrap time here as well. Let's see if Niner Esports are going to be able to get this break onto P5.
Yeah, I mean, even then, looking at the momentum they got thus far, they're definitely carrying it over. Now, 111-39, and you sit there and see P5, coming up. I mean, it's just, you can't do too much about it. You got to find the break, you got to play it slow, but just even then, if you're not even getting yourself on the site, look for the congestion, go on the outside, go around that little bit of corner towards that broken wall and say, look, we're just going to hold this down. We don't care whether or not we pick up enough time. We have plenty of it. If we can just take it away from you to make ourselves feel better, that's an easy compensation in my book. You can already see Fiddy right there, grabbing a double kill, able to go ahead and move on to the side. Not able to grab that last kill there with the crossfire coming through, but still nonetheless, congestion is now a factor on the board.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, right here, right now, Smiley currently sitting at 8-11 in the point. I mean, doing enough for his squad overall for sure. I mean, right now, Dark and Anku going to be leading the way with the hill time. It is going to be Dark currently. I mean, you said it, MVP performance, and he's currently got the most kills in the lobby, 16 and 12 to his name. They're going to be getting this scrap time yet again. I mean, it seems like a broken record that they are just able to keep on breaking in. So here we go. Yet again, KSU going to be getting the early points, and now the break is going to be coming in from Niner Esports. This time it's going to be coming in from the defensive side. So far, so good. Coming in from Niner. They are going to get shut down in the mid, but it is going to be this player in Dark that's trying to keep things alive, but he's going to get dropped as well. Este in the mid, needing to win the 1v. He does just that. Can he win another one? Oh, my goodness. He had help from a teammate. That is the definition of a teammate having your back. He was almost caught reloading right there. I mean, right now, KSU are able to get some decent time onto this P1, and this is exactly what this squad needed right here in the second set of rotations.
Yeah, they need relevancy, and that's quite honestly what they're fighting for. They're making a pretty convincing case for it, too. I mean, now making the game only within a 40-point differential. I mean, that's not an entire side anymore. You've now made the game doable within a point where you can really create the exchange, turn things around with a little bit of scrap time, get yourself the advantage off of that. But finally, as the Niners grab themselves a couple points to make sure it's not exactly 40, they want to make it 45. They want to move up, they want to move across the map, and they want to grab the second side as they're already mowing every single player down that gets in their way.
Yeah, I mean, this is the KSU squad slowly starting to come back in this one right here, right now. I mean, only down 45. I mean, I thought the Niner Esports were going to start to walk away with this one, but in this second set of rotations, it's been KSU that have really started to get a lot of points, really starting to impress me. And I mean, they've gotten about a 60-point swing so far on this second set just alone. And I mean, as Gizmo and Neste pick up a couple, they're going to be trying to flood out this point. Might be finding success right now as, yes, 50's going to be dropping. Last one's up is Smiley. He drops as well. KSU are starting to come back, Mick.
Starting to come alive. I mean, you can look at that kill feed. It's nothing but white, just lighting things up. I mean, it's outstanding thus far, but Niners finally grabbed themselves an answer saying, okay, look, P2 probably wasn't our spot this time around, boys. We need to make sure to set up for P3, and with Snake already being in the back, you just don't check that. You don't find that trade there. You don't get that kill, and maybe you got it earlier, but now you just don't find it when it matters most. Still within 40 seconds of each other. I mean, Anko trying to push around the map and grab as many kills as possible. If you can grab these picks off towards Gizmo, going ahead and getting an eye on the player, you got Dark in the crossfire. An outstanding play here from Niners. They take over the side almost flawlessly, but you still got players pushing in from the middle.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to Dark was 16-8 at one point. He's now 20-21. So going from 16-8 to now 20-22, I mean, Dark has definitely started to fall off in this game. I mean, if he can pick things up for his squad again, you know, it's sad to say that he's falling off when he's got the most kills on his team. But, I mean, when you get off to such a hot start, you want to be able to keep that momentum going because guess what? Your teammates, they're going to be used to that. You know, they're going to be used to you doing what you're doing on the map. And if you just all of a sudden stop that, it's going to be extremely difficult. It's happened multiple times. Oh, my goodness. Trauma winning a huge 1v1 on Anku to get that scrap time. That is going to be massive. And now these rotations of Church are going to be coming in. It's going to be Niner Esports to have this one locked down. Let's see if the break from KSU is going to be able to come through. Yeah,
I mean, even then, that's what KSU's looking for. And what you mentioned earlier about Dark, I mean, a team is only as strong as its weakest link, but only as aggressive as the strongest player. And sometimes when you find that lack of power, you just can't find the siege, the breaks anymore to get yourself back onto a site. And that's kind of been their biggest differential right now. KSU's been holding things down. You can play the defense once you get the site, but eventually they will break you. They will get into that site if you give them enough attempts. But there it is. Finally grabbing the kills there, creating some space for the squad. You know you're on P4. You know you have to hold this. Dark needs to sit there and be watching this side. He has to find these kills. He does find one on the Snake, so that's one of the better players on the side of KSU to go ahead and take down. That's a really, really good kill there. But you're extending off the site, looking for some kind of exchange, and say you need to be working for this 200. Guarantee that, get that 215, and say we can win this within the site.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, right now, they're doing a great job of getting all this scrap time. Niner Esports, they've done a great job of getting a ton of time in this church specifically to extend their lead. I mean, this one had gotten within 20 points. I was thinking it was getting a little bit scary for this Niner Esports roster, but, I mean, things are looking pretty good now. But KSU, they do have the rotation, so it's going to be all up to Fiddy. Fiddy, you just walk back. Oh, no. Snake takes out 50 from the side. That's just unfortunate. But that's just Snake playing great positioning. Even though he is going to be dropping still, KSU going to be getting a lot of this early time just based off that one play from Snake.
Yeah, I mean, just that alone, you go ahead and get the exchange to come through. I mean, now back on to P2, where we've seen KSU excel thus far. Dark was looking to make a play, but couldn't exactly do it. I mean, still, found that double. Sat there right off the spawn. You get immediately back on the side. That's a huge problem. But the fact that Niners are even contesting, and then finally 50 going with a 3K, can say, look, you can do whatever you need to, but I'm eventually going to at least get some time here on the board.
Whew. Yeah, big kills coming out for sure out of this Niner roster. And at the perfect time, oh my goodness, 50 going crazy. And guess what? He's on streaks, ladies and gentlemen. Not looking to stop anytime soon as he's going to be coming to the backside. If he can get this one, it's going to be huge. He sees him, and he takes out Gizmo. That's going to be 7, as that is going to be 50 finding streaks, but he's going to be looking for more. He's hunting. He's not done. Este going to be finally dropping him, picking up a 2-piece of his own, and that's going to be a perfectly timed one because, I mean, right here, right now, KSU, they're going to need to keep on holding this P1 if they want to win this one, as it's just going to take one break from Niner Esports coming in, and guess what? That's going to be a glide bomb coming in. 50 said, guess what? Streaks, they're active. They're online. We'll see you later. This is going to be our point, as they're going to be keeping them from pushing on in, and this is going to be Niner Esports taking this one. This final push is not going to be good to go. Niner Esports winning the series 3-1. Beautiful execution overall.
Yeah, how much closer affair than what we saw, at least in that first hard point. Even then, it's on the kind of counter side. Niners able to go ahead and pull things out there. A very, very strong start, a kind of a lackluster middle game, but then they finally go ahead and finish strong once again. I think it was a kind of a team effort there. We sat there, mentioned Dark in the early stage of the game, saying, look, this guy is doing work. But then he kind of fell asleep at the wheel, and Fiddy said, don't worry, buddy. It's okay. I brought extra gas. We can go ahead and keep this road trip going and find ourselves into a win, and that's exactly what happened there. an outstanding attempt. Guy bounced back 3 times harder than his teammate failed. So, I mean, that's exactly what you're looking for. You're hoping that somebody else can pick up the slack, and that's really what happened here. KSU didn't really manage that too much. I mean, Snake was constantly a top fragger there for the team. Kind of felt a little bit lackluster there to Gizmo, but I mean, they just weren't really there on sites collectively too much. I mean, that's what we saw earlier on Bocage, that kind of crazy hecticness works into your favor, where you're just working for kills, and it eventually translates to time on its own because the map is so small and contested that, I mean, you just, next thing you know, you're like, oh, I'm on the side. Okay, I was just killing people, and I mean, that's kind of what came around. But then on Tuscan, you can't do that. There is so much space to go ahead and be working with that if you're not specifically looking at that site, you're not going to randomly run into time. It's not going to just like fall in your grasp. So, yeah. I mean, that's where the Niners sit there and say, well, being now we have to focus on the objective. We have to work on this. They constantly kept the advantage with that.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, all around, it was just a solid performance coming in from this Niners squad. I mean, I think me and you both thought that after Kennesaw won that first map of Hardpoint, that this series might go a little bit differently. Let's go ahead and take a look at the series as a whole as it went down. I mean, as we stated, Kennesaw State, they got out to the early lead. It was a decisive victory, and, you know, the fact that they weren't able to keep that momentum going, it is definitely disappointing, but definitely something that the squad in Kennesaw State can build off of.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, Kennesaw, their season isn't over by any means necessary. I mean, they sat there, they still are within this area for a reason. I mean, grabbing that first hard point, honestly, Bocage looked really strong for them. I think that's kind of one of the best takeaways we have here today, to know that this team, they've been struggling here recently. I think they're a very, very slay-heavy team. I think their kill potential is extremely impressive, but their objective is just a little lackluster. And there's no real mode that incentivizes you just for finding kills straight up aggressively unless it is hard point on Bocage. So I think as many times as they can select that map, take it. But make sure it's earlier in the series. Make sure you get that map more so and more so. Make it your home ground, because a lot of also the huge teams that sit there and like kind of BMing teams, just going ahead and putting a nail in the coffin, curb stopping people, is going to be on Bocage, where you can sit there and say, we just want to purely kill them. We don't care about the objective. And honestly, that's where KSU can sit there and fight back.
Yeah, I mean, as you stated, you know, it was a big difference maker. KSU able to come out, you know, shock them in this first map, you know, give them their second hard point loss of the entire season. So, I mean, Kennesaw State definitely not anything to, you know, be upset about looking back at this series. You know, you can definitely take away some good things from it. You definitely had your high moments, a couple of low moments, but I mean, honestly, this Kennesaw State roster, they did great. So big props to this Niner Esports roster for being able to answer back with 3 solid map wins back to back to finish this series off. But hey, listen, we're not done here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another match coming up right after this one. Okay, we are going to be having Grand Canyon Esports going up against Texas State, and that's going to be an interesting matchup. I am going to be dipping out of here for the night, but it is going to be Susano that is going to be coming on in here, joining Mick on the call. So listen, after this short break, you know, we'll see you guys later. I'm going to go get my popcorn, go get my hot chocolate, hang out, watch the show. It's going to be a good time. Mick, good luck tonight. It's going to be a good one. We'll see you guys after this break.